Yeah, I think.
The administration, you are aware or familiar with your governance structure, your
I'll say 6.
6.
Yeah.
And how many finance directors? Just a rough figure. You don't have to have the exact number. 4.
Want to give you that figure?
Yes. Procurement?
Procurement, yes.
You've always had a procurement unit as well.
No, let me be very specific on that. We recently created a
Please draw yourself closer to the microphone.
We only had a full to 2023.
So for the years you have been there, it's just your last year or thereabout that you have had a fully fledged procurement unit.
And in that I mean having a senior procurement officer. Yes.
All right.
But it was still not enough because the senior procurement officer had to have at least 3 or 4 people or procurement officers
that they work with
within the year.
All right. Now, what is the role of the political branch, the role of the councillors, general council, including in this present time the mayors and the councillors? What are their roles in relation to the governance structure of council?
Okay, I'll go by the orthodox relationship or the roles that you are asking.
Yes.
First of all, they should have monthly general council meetings.
Correct.
Where at times, if resolutions are taken,
correct,
they convey it to the administration.
Yes.
For implementation.
Right.
And they do have some mandatory committees like the finance committee, the establishment committee, development and planning, depending on some councils. Some will have even more than that. But for us, these were the 4 main ones that the councillors were into, and some members of the administration. And then the role is, and also the contract committee. I had forgotten about that. But with the contract committee was not headed by a councillor. Okay. The contract committee is headed by the CEO. But in any case, with all these committees, whatever deliberations they have should lead back to the council for final discussions and adoption of any resolutions.
Right. So how do you implement council's resolutions as CEO? Well,
with the administration, we will normally have to meet, and then we'll look at the ways forward, and then which roles officers are to play in.
You mean senior management meetings?
Senior management meetings, yeah.
And how often do you meet?
We used to meet very frequently.
Very frequently?
Yeah.
What does that mean? How frequent is very frequent?
Maybe let's say, in a month at least we'll meet.
Once?
Once, and if necessary, we can meet more than once.
Right. So we will, for the most part, we will focus on 2018 to 2023.
Okay.
Now, in 2018, were you having, from 2018, were you having senior management meetings?
Then they were not very regular.
Why is that?
Because maybe a new council was just coming in, and then it took time before, things started getting rolled.
So, but please increase your voice.
Let me try my best. But at the same time, I have to apologize. I have some bit of a cold.
Okay.
So I'll try my level best too, so we can hear each other.
All right, please do that. Yes, so it was not regular. It was very irregular.
It was very irregular then.
And why is that?
Yeah, like I said, then the council was just coming in, and then, it took time before things really started rolling. So during that time, they were not as regular as they became afterwards.
But the senior management meeting would mainly or mostly comprise of the administrative part of the council. Is that not the case?
Yes.
The CEO, the finance director, the various directors in various portfolios, correct?
Yes.
And so the politicians may come in newly, but the senior management had been there. It remains.
Yeah.
You were there before they arrived in 2018. You've been there so many years, so you know how to steer the ship.
Yeah.
So, what was the factor as to why there would be an irregular meeting structure or period in council at the time?
Okay, if I say irregular, well, I'm not saying that we're not completely, of course, having the meetings, but like it was not as regular as, for example, having them every end of month or every 2 weeks. You know, that's what I mean.
So sometimes you'll go for like 2, 3, 4 months without no meetings?
No, certainly not. That was not the case.
What is the most that you will go for without having a meeting?
Okay, maybe like 2, 3 weeks. Maybe 2, 3 weeks.
You have minutes of meetings?
Yes, we have minutes.
You take senior management meetings, minutes of meetings?
Certainly, yes.
Who writes these minutes?
Initially, we had the clerk to council.
Right.
Would come on.
And after which?
And after which, we had another set of employees who were also part of the establishment. They were also doing the minutes taking.
Set of employees.
Yes.
Set would mean you have 2, 3, 4 employees to write minutes. Yeah. So what do you mean by set of employees to write minutes?
Okay, like for example, initially it was the clerk to council.
Yes.
Who did most of the minutes.
Correct.
And then you had new additions. One of them is she's late. Fatou Cisse, she was also part
Fatou
of
Cisse was appointed?
Yeah, she was appointed.
For what? In what position?
Pardon?
In what position?
As an administrative assistant.
To write minutes?
Yes, she helped us write the minutes.
Write minutes.
Because she had a good level of literacy.
She has a good level of interest?
Literacy.
Literacy?
Yeah.
What is the level of literacy?
Well, being able to write mechanically correct.
How do you determine that?
You read through what they write. You read through the minutes.
No, we employ people by their qualifications. You don't employ people by reading what they write. Some people write very well. To some people, they don't have the necessary qualifications.
Yeah, if you're talking strictly about the necessary qualifications, yes, in some cases they didn't have the necessary qualifications, but like in some cases you find out some of them, like I say, have a good level of literacy and are able to write some very good minutes.
And who determines that? You?
Pardon?
Who determines that?
Well, as a CEO, I'll look at the minutes and see how mechanically accurate they are.
You are not in the position to do that. You don't know. I can decide that you don't speak good English. I can decide that you don't write very well. That will be subjective. We go by qualifications. That's what we go by. We don't go by subjective decisions in employment. Do we not?
No, maybe the line I'm taking is a bit different. What I'm just saying here is, right, I'm not going strictly by the fact that these were people who had the qualifications, right, and they were employed, right, to come in right, and specifically deal with these issues. Right. What I'm saying is, like, these are people who are in the council. They're already employed within the council. And in the process of trying to get them upgraded, right, we give them responsibilities.
We will come to that.
Yes.
We know that we have had evidence that you've employed someone to write minutes.
Yeah.
They were employed just to write minutes. Is that a fact?
No.
You have never employed anybody to write minutes?
They were not employed just to write minutes.
You have never employed anyone to write minutes of meetings?
I cannot remember that.
You cannot remember?
No.
But you're not sure?
Cannot remember that.
Okay, we will come to those. This is the evidence we have had. We'll come to that. And back to this structure. So if we are to ask for the senior management minutes, will you be able to provide them?
Yes, sure.
Okay, from 2018, please write it down. We request you to provide all the senior management meeting minutes from 2018 to 2023. And who would be present in these meetings, in senior management meeting?
Myself.
Yes.
The directors.
Yes.
Some line managers, and then the support staff.
Support staff?
Yeah.
In senior management?
Yeah, I mean, like for taking minutes.
They would not be deliberating issues. There will be scribes.
No, they will not be deliberating. Yes. They will be doing the minutes.
Just take notes.
Yeah.
And the mayors?
In our senior management meetings?
Yes.
No.
She does not attend?
No, she does
Is there any meeting that the mayoress would attend on a regular basis?
Okay, what we normally used to have were briefings in the morning.
Were briefings?
Yeah.
How do you call these briefings?
We meet up in the morning and then we deal with certain issues that are pending.
Every morning?
Well, not every morning. But,
How?
Let's say in the week, 4 times.
Yourself as the CEO?
Myself, the mayors, and the line directors.
At least 3 or 4 times in the week?
Yes.
Is this recorded? Meetings of meetings?
No,
these
were verbal meetings.
Why would you not have minutes of meetings with the mayors?
I agree. It would have been more proper.
You haven't been proper.
Yeah.
Having meetings without minutes would not be proper.
Yes.
In other circumstances. But
certainly, yes.
So we will not see any minutes of meetings that the mayors has attended.
We can have maybe 1 or 2 as a sample.
Since 2018?
Yeah, it's within that range, yeah.
1 or 2?
Yes.
It means we only have 1 or 2 meetings?
No. I mean the written ones. The ones where we have written minutes.
But the evidence would suggest that you have 1 or 2 meetings. So, because we would not know the content of the subsequent meetings, it would be informal, probably deemed to be informal.
Yeah, I agree.
There are no
I agree with the informal aspect. But
right.
Like I said, I think I should be able to source 1 or 2 minutes where they were recorded.
Yes. And in that regard, if in the absence of other records to show that there were meetings with the mayors in dealing with council's affairs, together with her CEO being the mayor's representing council, it is proper to conclude that there were no meetings.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And so, what would be the part that the mayors would play in representing council in administration of the area council on a day-to-day?
Okay, there are 2 sides to this question, but I'll try to first of all concentrate on the first part. Like the mayor's role, when we talk about issues that affect the city,
right,
it's mostly based on like in a consensus.
Consensus?
Yeah, we'll come together.
Who will come together?
Like I say, myself, the directors,
right,
and herself,
yes,
will come together,
right,
and we'll discuss on certain matters,
right.
Especially like, for example, in the case of donations to the community,
right,
social responsibilities.
Right.
Let me sum it up in that way.
Right.
We will normally sit down as a group, and then we discuss them.
And after you come to a conclusion?
And after we do come to
you disagree to agree? Like they say?
Of course that
you don't, Mr. Batchilly.
No, we do, sir.
You don't.
Can I just come in?
Of course you can.
All right. It's like many people in BCC knew that at times you used to have tough meetings with the mayor.
Is that so?
Oh, yes. At times people could be even outside and be hearing, like, or
like you, Mr. Batchilly, having disagreements with the mayors?
Of course.
I'm impressed.
Many a times, in fact.
I'm impressed because the
but
evidence we have received.
It doesn't mean that, we're quarreling or anything of
you
that
can
nature.
quarrel.
It's just that there are certain things, like I feel that I had different opinions.
Okay.
And then I'll voice out my opinions, and then by the end of the day, it's over. It's just about having different views.
That's impressive.
And pushing my opinions on certain matters.
That's impressive because the evidence we have gathered, you have followed the commission quite religiously. And the evidence we have gathered, as I've said to one of your staff, I think the finance manager, that it appears you were also a rubber stamp. Yes. No, I will present you with evidence as the discussion goes on. I will present you with several evidence that will suggest, unless you can convince the commissioners that it was not the case, to us lawyers, will suggest that you have acted in total disregard of the relevant laws you have highlighted. We will show you what the law says and how you have acted on numerous occasions that these are the features of a rubber stamp leader?
I'll be happy to go through them and be
No,
able
you
to,
would not be, trust me.
to
But now that, for instance, you have given an example in relation to donations to BCC in your responsibility, and is this made in the name of the council or in the name of the mayors?
they were made in names of the council.
In the names of the council.
Yes.
And the council does this donation
Yes.
through the office of the CEO.
No.
How is it done? Through the office of the mayors?
What happens is that most of these requests for donations
Right.
do come to our office.
Right.
So as a result, she will call up mostly myself,
Right.
the director of finance,
Right.
and the director of planning,
Right.
and at times the council advisor.
Right.
We will look at it,
Yes.
and then we come up, with a conclusion as to what we should do.
Now, what do you look into in granting or refusing applications for donations?
I don't get your question.
What would you look into? What are the factors to consider whether a certain request for donation will be granted or will be rejected?
We will look at the genuine nature of the case
Yes.
to determine whether it's worth being given or not.
Yes. That's all. The budget.
The budget line should be there.
Okay. The manner of expenditure, who should do the expenses. Do you look at that?
Yes, it is. If I have this request, and like I say, at those consultative avenues,
Okay.
we'll, for example, maybe we come up with an amount
All right.
that's supposed to be given.
Okay.
Then she would minute it. She would minute the request to my office.
All right.
Then I will minute it to the director of finance.
Finance. And then you raise an imprest
Yes.
and give it to the mayors.
I raised an imprest. No, like this is in the case of donations, I mean.
Yes. Donations.
Yeah, for example.
You have seen donations, monies that will be raised by way of imprest given to the road mayoress for her to be the one to decide how much is given to X, Y, and Z on numerous occasions. The PRO.
Yes, that's a different kettle of fish in the sense that if they apply...
That's a different what? Say it again.
Different kettle of fish.
It's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm saying here is in the sense that at times I want to make the examples clear. For example, if there are donations,
Right.
I gave you the mode in which they were executed.
Right.
For example, if it's based on the cash imprest,
Right.
the request for a cash imprest,
Right.
I would approve it
Right.
based on the merits,
Right.
and then
What are these merits?
whether the cost that's being applied for
Okay. Is
genuine,
genuine.
or
How do you determine that?
okay. For example, if there is a fire incident at a certain neighborhood in
Right,
Banjul,
right.
for example, and they will come make the request, for donations, and then, for example, attach the fire service report.
Right.
So these are considerations that could be made based on what is presented in front of
So you decide how much to give.
It is not always that I decide.
Who decides?
The director of finance mostly
Who will decide how much?
would tell us, how much is feasible
No,
towards
we see the request.
contribution towards
We
whatever.
see the monies given to the mayors are exactly how much she has requested. Where is the discretion?
Yeah, it would depend. It's not just based on one instance, I mean.
No,
For example,
in almost all instances, what is asked for is what is given. Unless you have your evidence, we have ours. If you have your evidence that XYZ was requested on several occasions, but we had to trim it down to what is available, please present it. We will welcome it. Because the one we have is, if $10 is requested, $10 is given. We have one from Fatu Benga. It says, request for payment of media coverage, for instance, 30,000 requested, 30,000 given. Several instances, even the support as well. What is requested is what is given. So I don't know what you're talking about. I write on behalf of the mayor, the request for $400,000 is as council support to flood victims. $400,000 was given. So what discussion do you have as CEO or as senior management to discuss this in line with the budget, in line with financial realities of council?
I think that is what I was trying to develop.
Yes.
To say that, you're asking me, for example, based on who decides about the amounts of money that are supposed to be given.
Right.
I think that's what I was trying to answer.
Yes, I did not agree with you.
Yeah, what I'm saying here is...
I thought what you were saying was misleading. But I had said, if you had evidence, it's very simple. What you do, you just tell me, no, the council, you are wrong. I have XYZ occasions where the mayor has requested for this amount, and we said, well, that is not realistic. The burden is on you.
No, that's the reason why I'm saying maybe you didn't understand me.
Okay, say it again.
What I'm saying now is, with what you just explained, of course, normally, if the request comes to me,
right,
that is based on a sum of 20,000,
right,
I will exactly, also instruct the director of finance to pay that same 20,000.
To pay that amount.
Yeah, so there you are right. I'm with you there.
Exactly. So then you go ahead.
Okay, I was trying to come up with another scenario as to how we normally come up in cases where we have to decide internally as to how much we are going to contribute.
I am saying
that's the area I was trying to come to.
Yeah, but I'm saying that area is fictitious. It does not exist because whatever the mayor has asked for is what is given. On numerous occasions, Mr. Batchilly, we have seen that. What is asked for is exactly what is given in her name by way of impress. She holds it in her office and decides how she spends the money without proper accountability. We will come to all this. I'm just trying to lay the foundation for you and I to discuss how you were administering BCC together with Rahim Malik Law, her lordship, or her leadership, sorry, or her worship. I think this is the right one to use in that circumstance. So if you say that it appears you have a discretion, you do not have a discretion based on what we see. You were just rubber stamping her request. But then I am also welcoming your refusal or denial of that disposition so that you provide us with numerous vouchers. That requests were made by the mayoress, and you had to either tone it down based on the finances of council wouldn't support it or the budget, or that the amount was probably exorbitant. Does these two exist?
Lead counsel, I really want you to give me the opportunity at that juncture to be able to make my position clear.
I have always thought that.
Because what I'm trying to say here is, there are two instances.
Right.
The first set of instances you've given, I completely agree to those. That we are giving the amounts that were requested for.
Right.
What I am saying, in the instances where donations are to be made, but amounts were not specifically laid down.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So during the build-up to the decision as to how much we are going to give,
right,
that's the other area I was trying to come
Let's forget about that one. That one did not arise.
Yeah.
So
it's like,
why would you always give exactly what is requested without consideration of the finances of council, the budget allocations, and so on and so forth?
But I have given you one assurance, which is that I would say in 99% of cases, when these decisions are being made, we normally sit together. And then from there on, then we go to the paperwork.
Let me give you an example.
That's
we will not touch
what I mean.
this in depth. I'll give an example of the exhibit LGC/PCC/FM 004. I will give you an example, and then we'll go to another issue.
Okay.
But we'll come to this in a more specific issue. Is this the payment made to Fatu Mbenga on the 18th of August 2022? Let's look at this. You recognize that voucher?
Yes.
What is the voucher number?
12. That's PV number. Huh?
Right.
1289.
What is that payment for?
For the flood victims at Tobacco Road.
Flood victims at? The microphone, please.
Being cash impress for flood victims.
Okay. Who raised the request?
The request was raised, yes, it was raised by the same Fatumega.
Okay.
Please. Making the request on behalf of the Lord Mayor.
Okay. Now please read the request.
Subject, request for impress for support. I write on behalf of the Mayor to request for $400,000 as council's support to the flood victims. Please help and act accordingly.
What supporting documents are attached to
and
that?
Then there was another one which says memo from the Lord Mayor to the Assistant Public Relations Officer. Subject, General Council's resolution on the need to assist the Banjul flood victims. Following a resolution by the General Council on the 2nd of August 2022 to assist victims of the recent Banjul flooding, I am proposing on behalf of the General Council to raise an amount of $400,000 to assist the above needy victims, bearing in mind that the Council is not presently financially buoyant.
Now, what are the supporting documents attached to it? You spoke about fire service report here and there, back and forth. But what do you have there?
All we have here is the check that was given to Fatumega.
Okay. Is that the usual way?
No, this should not be. This is not usual.
This is not usual?
No.
And why was it done?
I don't know the reason why it was done, but then most of our documents, face the same fate.
What do you mean they face the same fate?
A lot of our documents, had attached the attached ones.
A lot of?
The attached supporting documentation have been missing.
Have been missing? What does that mean?
Because normally this should have had extra documents attached to them.
Yes. So what do you mean when you say it is missing?
Yeah, because now you don't have them here attached.
But it is received as you have submitted. It is received as you have submitted.
No, we did not submit. We did not submit the payment of the 400,000 just to be supported by these documents. These are no explanatory documents.
Is there more?
There are no explanatory documentations.
So where is this documentation? Where is it?
I don't know where it is, but I know.
But you don't have it.
It should have it.
It should have it.
It should have it.
As opposed to you don't have it. It's quite different.
No, I recall this particular incident. Vouchers were given to people to sign.
Right. What vouchers?
Like payment, like the vouchers. No, I don't know whether I should use vouchers for that. Maybe it's like just a means of acknowledging who has been given.
You are very
support.
dishonest. You are very dishonest.
I don't think I am being.
It would not work here, I can guarantee you. You are probably one of the most dishonest witnesses I've ever had for a start, and it would not work here. I can guarantee you what you should do better is maybe you can request one of your lawyers to come and represent you. They are highly welcome. Very highly welcome. Whatever your plan is, it will not work, Mr. Batchilly. Or whatsoever whose plan is, it will not work. I can guarantee you that. Whosoever advises you, it will not work. You see, we know the law. And they would not come here and sit here. They would not. I am saying it. They would not come here and sit here and try to prefer an argument that is baseless, because they will be crushed. And you can quote me anywhere. Whosoever has advised you in the most ill manner. You understand that? I don't focus on these vouchers. I focus on what the law says. Do you understand that? You submitted these vouchers. Fatumega testified here. She is the person that has custody the vouchers and recognized these vouchers and admitted to the vouchers being received. You know what we are saying? You know what is the most important thing here? The idea that you will have the audacity to even give the Lord Mayor $400,000. $400,000 for her to be given to people anyhow she wants for her own political gains. That's what you guys do as CEOs, as finance directors. That's what you do. You empower political leaders, and the people will be suffering. And we will say it. I will say it here over and over and over again. I'm not afraid. You don't know me. You have no idea, Mr. Batchilly. You have no idea. I will say it. But that's what the law is. Let me ask you, that is an impress. Is that not the case?
Yes, this
Speak into the microphone.
Yeah, it's an impress.
Is that not the case?
Yes.
Do you have an impress ledger? Did you grant that impress in accordance with the financial manual? I'm asking you, are on oath.
Okay, yeah. The director of finance, I think the last
I
time.
don't ask you that question. Did you grant this impress in accordance with the financial manual? Forget the supporting document. Let's even assume you have all the supporting documents. Let's assume that. Let's now follow the procedure. You think we don't know our job, Mr. Batchilly? The people that advise you, they will not come here. I can guarantee they would not come here. They will not. It's a televised hearing. Nothing is hidden here. They think you have a case, let them sit here. They think they can represent you, let them answer questions for you. It's just funny. Let's look at the impressed ledger. Do you have an impressed ledger?
There was no impressed ledger.
You see? Why was there no impressed ledger?
Because I had the firm belief that we had a chartered accountant who was supposed to have kept it.
You are the chief executive officer.
Yes.
The custodian of the finances of council. Was it in your responsibility to make sure there was an impressed ledger? Before you give the mayors $100 million by way of impressed?
I don't get you. Mean, was it my responsibility?
Yes, to make sure that the process is followed.
Yeah, it is. It should be my responsibility.
Should be.
I'm not.
Please give the.
I'm not shying
CEO,
away from that.
No, I'm not taking a should be for an answer. Give the CEO the financial manual. We look at whether it is your responsibility or it was not your responsibility. Yeah, but you think you can be smart here? You cannot be smart here. You cannot try to get any loophole here because it does not exist. I think we have time to look at minor things. I'm looking at what the law says. Whether your actions are within the law or not. Whether you were a rubber stamp CEO favoring one person because of your own personal gains. That's the truth. You cost the people millions and millions of dollars of taxpayers' money, embezzled, mismanaged. And you are here talking about a receipt that maybe that doesn't exist. So turn to the impressed.
Yeah, I'm on the page.
One page.
Page 52.
Come again?
Page 52.
Increase your voice.
Page 52.
Yes.
52.
Now let's look at the procedure for impressed Mr. Batchilly. Right? And you will now guide us and tell us whether you were in line or you were not in line. The voucher is a paper, very important paper, but the law has provided for other accounting procedures to follow. This can be lost. But what is here must be recorded somewhere else. Is that not true?
Yes.
That's how accounting works. So flimsy excuses, it will not fly here. Any day, any time, it would not fly. It says 701 of the financial manual that if it is necessary for any officer of the council to have money at his or her disposal for disbursement and public service for which the usual pre-authorization procedure cannot apply, such officer may be given an imprest. All imprest must be authorized by the chief executive officer, who will prescribe the terms and conditions under which imprest may be approved. What does that mean?
Yeah, basically, like all the impress should be authorized by myself, and like you said, the terms and to prescribe the terms and conditions under which the impress may be approved.
Under which?
The impress may be approved.
Good. Did you do that in this case?
No, with the terms and conditions under which the impress may be approved, no.
You did not do that?
No.
Failure number one. You admit?
Yes.
Good. We proceed. Now, is the mayoress an officer of council?
No, she's not an officer of the council.
Failure number two. We proceed. Was there an emergency situation for which the pre-authorization procedure cannot apply?
I don't get your point, sorry.
You don't what?
I don't get your point, sorry.
You don't get my question?
No.
The law says for which the payment you are making for public service, for which the usual pre-authorization procedure, you know, you raise the necessary vouchers, you follow the necessary payments, you pay directly to the person that is receiving the money, and all those things, it's all clearly stated in the financial manual. It's so deep, so enriched, for all payments that are to be made are captured in the manual. Now, there is a time you have to raise an impress when you can't follow the normal process. Then you can have to come back and regularize it. Now, was that followed?
No, based on this, no, it wasn't followed.
Good. Now, let's assume it is followed. I know you have said it's not followed. And that puts a stop to everything to show that the allocation in itself is not lawful. Is that correct? By way of impress, because you did not follow the due process, correct?
Yes.
Good. But now let's go to the procedure. Let's assume that you had followed due process for everybody who's listening to understand what we are talking about and how serious it is. That all requests for impress should be made on the application of an impress and approved by the chief executive officer. This council should maintain an impress ledger in which will be recorded all impress approved by the chief executive. A subsidiary impress ledger will be opened in the name of each impress holder, detailing the impress paid out, reimbursement, and retirements when they occur. Was there an impress ledger?
There was no impress ledger. That's stipulated by the auditors.
Good. So needless to talk about what is to be captured in the impress ledger. 3. When an impress is approved, a payment voucher will be raised by the finance staff in the name of the impress holder for the approved amount. The payment is posted to the cash book and impress ledger, whilst the rest of the payment process is followed. This doesn't exist. No posting was done. Correct? Because there's no impress ledger. Correct?
Yeah.
Good. 4. Officers entrusted with impress will be held responsible for all money advanced to them until such a time it has been properly accounted for. No accountability was done. Correct?
We're basing it on this one here. What the FM is saying.
What?
We're basing it on here, what we're reading.
What do you base on what you read here?
You know, you said here, officers entrusted with impress will be held responsible for all the money advanced to them until such a time it has been properly accounted for.
We are now saying that we are assuming there's an impress ledger. We are assuming all the process has been followed.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to tell you, you do not follow any process. Even at the time that you have failed in your responsibility as chief executive officer in 701. We discussed this. You admitted. But even accountability, retirement, were they retiring? Please look at me and tell me.
No wondering.
Did they retire?
You mean all the impress that have been taken?
This one. We will come to the other ones. I'll give you specifics. But was there retirement? You have to provide the evidence of retirement where it is recorded. It has to be recorded in the impress ledger. And there is no impress ledger.
Yeah.
Was there retirement?
No, there was no impress ledger.
Thank you very much. Now we go. It says, the transaction, no impress 9 will be issued to any employee in whose name a previous impress is still outstanding. Is this followed?
No, those were all not followed.
Please give me may I have my, the voucher. So, whose fault? Whose fault? You, the mayoress, the finance director, or all of you? In your opinion, whose fault?
In my opinion, then all of us.
All of us, all of you people. You know what the law says about this? That you are personally responsible for the finances of council. And therefore, if this expenditure would be unlawful because it is not in line with the financial manual, correct?
I have interventions.
Go ahead, Mr. Batchilly, you are entitled to your interventions.
I
again, let me repeat for everyone to hear. You can always deny or say, no, I don't agree. In fact, I will encourage you to say, I don't agree, because then you will now tell us what the evidence is.
In this case, I think by looking at it, especially with regards to the procedures that I mentioned here, definitely I will not stand up here and try to deny that, we are indeed following the procedures. But then the most important thing that I have learned personally during the course of these deliberations, because I'm not necessarily a financial expert, but I do know that with regards to the cash interest that we've been given over the years, were not the suitable things to do, in the sense that if you know very well an amount...
Mr. Batchilly, can you please raise your voice, because we are struggling to hear your response.
Sorry,
and
ma'am.
if we don't hear your response, we cannot form an opinion on what your response to the council's questions are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, what I was saying here is that regarding the procedures, I think we've come to terms with that. But one thing I have even learned myself during the course of these deliberations is that the way we are raising interest might not have even been the right way. Because interest, I overheard you once saying this, and I think I really acknowledge the fact that that should be the case. Interest were not meant for expenses that were predetermined. Interest should have been meant for areas that we are not too sure of how much we are to spend as part of our resources. Then you raise an interest, and then if the officer giving the interest retires, the amount will be able to know maybe this is the balance that is left, out of what was given, reflecting on the fact that it was an emergency. Then there was no means of exactly knowing what was needed for the execution of those things. So, based on that, really, I don't have any counter arguments to make.
Exactly. Mr. Batchilly, this is a more fair conversation.
Yeah.
You understand that? It is a more fair conversation when things are wrong and they are very clear.
Yeah.
We admit and we move on.
Yeah.
I don't make determinations. The commission doesn't make determinations.
Yeah.
But when things are very clear, we don't have to try to be smart about it. Because the law, like I said earlier, would always be around to guide all of us regarding what obtains. That was why the earlier answer regarding trying to be smart regarding the vouchers would not be tenable, because it's probably one of the least that we intend to rely on when the necessary books of accounts to factor in the records of the accounting processes are not available. You understand that? So that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Everyone knows it is wrong. Everyone knows that. Now, we will give you your statements. You made statements before the investigators. Two. The first is in the year 2024, 14th May. The second is 2022, January 2025. 22nd January 2025, sorry. Please go through them, take your time, and go through the statements. Yes. You recognize those statements?
Yeah.
And are the statement yours?
Yeah, they are mine, yeah.
We apply to tender the two statements of the witness into evidence as an exhibit.
Counsel. Lead counsel, sorry.
Go ahead.
I have something that I want to share with you.
Please let us allow the commissioners to just
Sorry.
allow the commissioners to just and admit the documents, and you will be at liberty to speak once the chairperson has given you the floor.
The witness statement dated the 14th of May 2024 and additional witness statement dated the 22nd of January 2025 are both admitted as exhibit in evidence, and they are marked as LGC/BCC/MB/002.
As the commission places on Madam Chair, the witness.
Yes, Mr. Batchilly?
Yeah, lead counsel, I want to ask a question here, because it's like when we look at the concept of responsibilities within the context of managing council's finances, I want to say that there are two kinds of responsibilities. For example, in my capacity as the CEO, whatever goes wrong, I will take the collective responsibility by virtue of being the CEO or the accounting officer. But do we also want to see that there are delegated responsibilities that have been given to also different officials within the hierarchy? For example, I hope you are understanding the
Absolutely.
question. Yeah. So I hope, like in this case, for example, if planning, for example, has like taken that to my notice, the impress has not been retired by officers so and so. So in that case, how are we going to understand it? Is it going to be collective individual responsibilities are all into it? Because definitely, certainly, I know my aim here is not to come and play the fool with you. I want to be very, anything like you really want me to be honest with, trust me, see me as somebody who is not here to play games.
Yeah.
But I just want us to look at this issue, and then I want to also gauge how well do you want to understand it. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, may I respond to that? Mr. Batchilly, let me tell you again, the decision making of the commission, as you know, lies with the commissioners. At the end of the day, maybe they will decide in accordance with the relevant laws that you are familiar with as to who has what responsibility. Certainly, I trust with no doubt the commissioners will decide in good faith the responsibility as apportioned in the necessary regulation. So what is not your responsibility may not be attributed to you, Mr. Batchilly, as CEO. So they are well equipped, well experienced. You know that the commission in relation to knowing what is your responsibility or not. Even where we err as councils in relation to thinking that one issue is perhaps your responsibility. So they have the ultimate decision in deciding that. What we do as lawyers is to confront you with evidence, discuss with you in relation to what the law is, give you our opinion in this investigation. And like I said, feel free to discuss where you think that you have a contrary view. They are here to listen. They may ask you questions as well in relation to that. But the determination is at the end of the commission.
Thank you.
What do you want to add something?
Thank you very much.
I proceed?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Batchilly, now we go back to the role of the council, the mayors, and the administration that you have really headed for over 24 years or 23 years, to be more accurate. Now, you have various committees.
Yes.
How many committees do you have?
You mean council committees?
Yes.
Okay, we had finance, establishment, development and planning. The last one is eluding me.
Contracts committee?
No, the contracts committee is not part of the council committees, because the contracts committee is headed by myself, two elected councillors from the council, and then the other administrators.
So let's just mention the committees in general, so that we don't differentiate whether it is council's committees and whatsoever committee. Let's just mention all the committees that exist within council as a whole.
Yes, these four committees were really active in the council.
So the contracts committee you had?
Yeah, the contracts.
Is it very active?
Well, when all the big procurements were present.
They were
like all the tenders that were ever made by the council, the contracts committee was in control.
But it's not very active committee.
It is.
Does the mayor take part in procurement? Does the mayor conduct procurement? The mayoress?
No, she's not part of the contracts committee.
But does she conduct procurement?
Directly, no. In what sense do you mean?
Buy things by herself. That monies are allocated to the mayoress to buy, let's say, furniture, or to buy other probably office needs, food.
Yeah, she normally just makes the request.
Is that the usual way?
Let me not say, but
for instance, we have the purchase of the LED lights.
Yes.
Let's take that as an example. Do you have the vouchers here? The purchase of the LED lights by the payment was done in the name of, is it Momodu Kamara?
Yes.
Finance director. And you mentioned it in your statement. You can always refer to your statement so that you'll be more accurate. LED lights were purchased in Senegal. But what process was followed? We're just taking that as an example.
Okay.
Do you recall this?
Yeah, I recall that, yeah.
Okay. Please explain to us the process in relation to the purchase of this LED light.
Initially, we started a street lightening project in Banjul.
Right.
With another different set of LED lights. Those were purchased from Powercom. If I remember the company very well, Powercom.
Yes.
And then after some time, they ran out of stock. And then it was the mayor who took the matter to the council.
Right.
And said that, we are not able to secure any more lights from these people.
Right.
So she is taking it up and, talking to her colleague in Senegal, in Dakar,
Right.
Dakar, Senegal.
How much do you spend for these red lights?
You mean the ones from Dakar?
Yes. Kamara's exhibits, please.
I cannot tell you.
About more than $1 million. In your statement, you said from Senegal, the total is 1,299,000.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah.
Now, again, did you follow any procurement process?
No, there were no procurement
Why?
process. Because it was purchased in Senegal. That defeated the purpose.
That is the reason why it is not why you did not follow any procurement process?
Council, the amount that was expended is 1.29 million.
Yes. 1.29, yes. Thank you, Chair. Yes, Mr.
Yeah, so after the deliberations at the council level,
Right.
she contacted the mayor of Dakar,
Right.
and then decided to send the protocol officer to go and make an inspection of the lights that were being talked about.
Right.
So that is how it started.
Is that the usual process?
No, it's not the usual process.
Then why did you agree to that process as CEO?
It was not the usual process, but at that particular time too, it was the street lighting situation in Banjul was a bit precarious.
Let's agree. Like I always say, not the motive. Let's not look at the motive, the intention. Let's not look at, because one can say clearly that what your motive is or what your intentions were probably were not genuine enough to bypass procedure. Someone may disagree that there are more, to the extent that there are more pertinent issues than buying the street lights. I'm not saying I don't think is the most important. I'm saying your reason is subjective. That should not be a reason as to why you should not follow due process. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that.
So why did you allow yourself as CEO to commit council's funds 1.2 million in a process that is a total disregard of procurement regulations?
I was carried away by the fact that the street lighting situation was precarious, like I said.
No, you were instructed to act and you acted by the Lord Mayors.
No, I was not necessarily told to act by, because
Mr.
like I said,
you knew it was wrong.
this was taken to council.
No, but you knew it was wrong. We had the evidence of Mamadou Kamara,
Yes.
the finance director.
No, I'm not disputing.
Have you had his evidence regarding the LED lights?
The procedure?
Have you had his evidence regarding the LED lights?
No.
He said that the mayor has made a comment. A comment.
Yeah.
That was when GPPA refused your application. Did you not try to follow GPPA regulation? GPPA procedures?
We did not have their final approval.
No, you tried, you applied.
Yes.
Is that not the case?
Yes, we applied.
When you applied, what was the GPPA's response?
I cannot remember, but what I know is that they did not give a final approval, because we went through a series of correspondences, if I think I'm not mistaken.
Come again?
But then the final approval was not given by GPPA.
The final what?
Approval was not given to pursue with the procurement.
GPPA replied to you first on the 17th of March 2022. The letter reads, addressed to Chief Executive Officer, Banjul City Council. We refer to your letter without reference dated the 4th of March 2022, but received the 15th of March 2022, relative to the above subject matter. Do you have the letter that was referenced that you wrote to GPA? A copy of the letter that you wrote to GPA?
No, I don't have the copy.
You don't have it. We will need a copy. We want you to furnish the commission with a copy of the letter that was written to GPA for this request. And it says, please be informed that the authority cannot make any decision on the request because of the following anomalies. Number one, no procurement method chosen. Number two, no GPA form 100, that's the national requisition, was present. Number three, no GPA form 012, that's a declaration by each member of the contracts committee, including the accounting officer. That is the declaration of interest, correct? Conflict of interest. Correct?
Yeah.
Good. It says, please correct above mentioned anomalies and resubmit for our consideration. Then you wrote a letter, and then they responded on the 30th of March 2022 that we refer to your submission without covering letter, but received 28th of March 2022 relative to the above subject matter. Having carefully reviewed your submissions based on the information provided in the minutes of Contracts Committee meeting dated the 7th of March 2022, we regret to inform you that the approval cannot be granted because of the following. First, the procurement is not in line with Section 44 of the GPPA Act 2018. Number two, absence of certified signed invoices from the suppliers. And number three, no specification for the LED lights. Therefore, the authority advises you to use restricted tender for the procurement in question and resubmit for the authority's consideration. Also, be reminded that the branding is not acceptable. We thank you for your understanding, even though you did not understand. And cooperation, even though you failed to cooperate. And avail ourselves for further guidance on your procurement. Signed, Mamadou Ann for the Director General. You had your applications refused in writing, correct?
Yep.
you decided that you will go ahead and procure the leathers and subject counsel to $1.2 million, even though you have expressed rejection of the application. Why? Who made the decision? You or the mayoress?
I don't think everything should just be limited to the mayors in this case.
You don't ask me how I answer my
Because
questions.
the thing
Mr. Batchilly, you don't ask me how I answer my questions. You don't tell me, sorry. You can say it is not the mayoress. You can say it is not you, Mr. Batchilly. You can point your fingers to someone else. But I ask my questions the way and manner I deem fit and subject to control by the commissioners. Not you. You understand that?
Very well.
I asked that question because there is evidence that we have received. I am not asking the question because I think that this is my opinion. The evidence we have received from Moro Kamara, the finance director, is such that the mayor has made a comment and stated that that she will not abide by the rejection, because she will not sit and see the people of someone in Banjul being beaten by a crocodile. True or false?
That's exactly where I wanted to come to.
True or false?
Yeah, the whole issue is that.
Is it a true or false statement?
It's not false. It's true.
Thank you.
But then, can I come in to?
No, you will come in soon. Thank you, Mr.
Right.
Batchilly. This is the basis of my question. We could have just said we urge the commissioners to rely on it, and they may or may not rely on it. But this is the evidence we have received, and so we will ask it. Now you come in.
Okay, what I want to say here is that, first of all, let me come back. I was not trying to defend the manner in which it was done, the procurement. I do agree with you 100% on that, 100%. But now, I'm telling you, like as a CEO,
Yes.
what made me vulnerable in terms of accepting it.
Okay.
Because in the sense that since this went to council,
Right.
it coincided with many councillors coming to council and also complaining about the fact that a street lighting program was started.
Right.
And in the midst of it, some states have, some states don't have, and all of a sudden we stop. This is not an excuse about the procurement issue.
But you are giving it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the thinking, the rationale,
Right.
yeah, was that, pressure in terms of getting this.
Whose decision? Yours or the mayor's? I will ask it again. Or both of you.
I was
Disregard procurement process.
But in this context, the both of us.
Good. Thank you very much. Was it a wise decision?
And no.
Public funds? To commit public funds in this manner?
Yeah, but okay, the procedural part of it, I disagree. But then the fact that the lights were brought in eventually and is still there serving the people.
Like I said, you will never see me ask you a question for the most part of it regarding what your intentions were. Because not even the devil knows the intention of man. And your intentions may be right. You may have a hidden agenda, both of you, to have a dalasi from it. I haven't arrived at that yet. The idea is there is no justification to spend public funds as if it were individual funds. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And then rely on the fact that we were doing it for the people of Banjul. The people of Banjul wants you to follow procedure. If you follow procedure, do you know what you will do in effect? You will save millions of dollars so that you will plow it back to the people and their conditions will elevate. You will help them in education, in agriculture, in healthcare, you name it. That is why we have to follow due process. You understand that?
Yes.
Because these LED lights could have been purchased at a cheaper price, for example. And if that is the case, you have saved money that is going to go back to the public, to the people that you are serving. That's what they want. You think they are happy that you can decide to spend funds anyhow how you wish, and then you are like they want it? No, they are not happy. And it is not proper. It is a suspicious fraudulent transaction. And I will prove it to you. Now, did you receive quotations from the supplier in Senegal?
I don't think, I can't remember this transaction in documentation wise, to be honest.
Go ahead, say that part loud.
I don't think I can remember the documentation aspect, to be honest.
Because there were no documentation.
No,
Correct?
No, you mean like the invoice for the purchase of the rights, you mean?
Did you receive quotations? There will not be any quotation. I mean, you're only asking this question as a matter of process. Yes.
Mr. Batchilly, can you please speak up because we are really straining to hear your response?
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'll try to speak as loud as possible.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Mr. Batchilly? You cannot remember.
The documentation, no.
Is it fair to say there were no documentation for this?
There were documentation because we wrote some checks to that effect.
Not the checks. The reason why you have signed the checks, that's what we have seen.
Yeah.
That's what we know. But there were no procurement documents, of course, because procurement was not followed.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Now, is it possible that the lights would have been purchased, may have been purchased at a higher price than the usual market price?
Based on the fact that it did not go through the procurement procedure, yes, I agree with you.
Exactly. And if that is the case, that would defeat the intention of the procurement regulation, to have value for money. And if you do not have value for money, you would have cost taxpayers more money than necessary. That's what it means in simple terms. Correct?
Yeah, I could.
That this bottle of water, it costs how much? It is the simplest explanation. In the market, how much does it cost?
You asking me the question?
Yes. It's part of
$25, I think.
$25.
Yeah.
$15, $25, correct?
Yeah.
If anyone sells you this for $100, will you buy it?
$400?
Yes.
No.
You will not buy it. That is market survey. Why would you not buy it for $100?
Yeah, because I will be sure that I can get more bottles with the $100.
Exactly. And if you're buying it for your family, you can have more bottle of water for your family.
Yeah.
If you're buying it for yourself, you can have more bottle of water for yourself. Is that not the case?
Yes.
So if you have done that with the LED lights, you could have had more LED lights to probably have more lighting in Banjul. Correct?
Yeah.
And that purpose is defeated. You see why it is dangerous, Mr. Batchilly? You see why it's dangerous?
Yeah.
Because that purpose is entirely defeated. And so who suffers?
The
inhabitants. The inhabitants. They are the ones who suffer. All the thing we are doing here is just to make sure we find the best way possible for the future. They are the ones who suffer. You know what the Procurement Act says? I'll just guide you to the 2022 Act. It says that page 13, section 3, that the objectives of this act are to provide a system for ensuring A, transparent, efficient, and economic public procurement. 1. B, accountability in public procurement. C, a fair opportunity to all prospective suppliers of goods, works, services, and consultancy service. There are people who supply these LED lights. We have interviewed one of those who even claimed that BCC owed him. We will come back to that. You see the point? People that work in this country would have to have a fair share of the cake. They pay tax every single day. You have probably done well in collecting tax in some instances. And then now, if they are doing business for the people, they should have equal opportunity. That's how the system should work. Is that not the case?
Yes.
Good. D, the prevention of fraud, corruption, and other malpractices in public procurement. E, improvements in social and economic capacity in the Gambia, including facilitating the participation of local, micro, small, and medium enterprises and individuals to participate in a competitive and economic manner as contractors and subcontractors in public procurement. Every day, you know what that means? Every day we talk about the sorry for my language, Madam Chair, but this is as a result of disregard of procedure on a daily basis. Sadly, by people who know. Why is D important? The prevention of fraud, corruption, and other malpractice in the public procurement. Why is it important?
In terms of the procurement
This
process,
regard of procurement, yes.
it should not, it's something that should not be encouraged.
Yes, because if you don't follow transparent process, someone may be benefiting. It may not be you, but you may not even know someone else is benefiting. Is that not the case?
Very true.
The mayoress may benefit, and you may not know. You may genuinely think there is no benefit. Is that not the case?
Very true.
Good. The person who you sent to the car may benefit, and you may not know. Is that not the case?
Very true.
You yourself, you may benefit, and you may not benefit. But who knows?
Very true.
That's the issue, Mr. Batchilly. So when we make decisions in administrative positions, these are the things that we look into. Not just I think it's going to be good for the people. You understand? And then we do what we have to do. Any questions, Honorable Chair, before I proceed?
Yes, and on the issue of the on generally the contracts and the payment of imprest that has been granted to the office of the mayor. For instance, let me just give you an insight. For instance, the payments to Rafaela. We are just in the same line as to what Council is saying. 2 million was paid on activities, and these are without supporting documents. 2.3 million to Fatou Mbenga as imprest to Rafaela activities, and 793,290. You understand? These are on scholarships that don't have documentations. They didn't pass through audit, and there were no accounting rules followed in the disbursement of these funds. Do you think, in your opinion, this is correct?
Yes, it's not correct.
Thank
But
you.
Can
Thank
I?
you.
So,
Councillor, you may proceed.
Yes. So, Batchilly, I have a few questions for you before we go on break. The authority to incur expenditure, that is to say, the granting of or approval for expenditure in council, how does it work? Who has what powers? How are these powers exercised? For instance, in simple terms, the signing of checks to say pay X, pay Y, pay Z, this amount. How does it done? How is it done?
yeah, it would emanate from requests that are coming to my office,
Yes.
and then if they're approved, they take them back to finance. Finance will look at it and then check the feasibilities. Then from there, it will be taken to audit normally for them to see. And then if they approve, if they brought back, then the checks are raised and payments are made.
So who decides the limit or the amount to be incurred?
It will depend on the transaction.
Tell us, please guide us.
The transaction that we're trying to execute.
What do you mean? It depends on the transaction.
Yeah, it will depend on what we are going to spend the resources on.
Okay. Is there any? Let me ask a more direct question. Is there any limit to your powers as CEO as to how much you can authorize for expenditure?
No, in our council we are not pursuing with that policy.
You are not?
We are not pursuing with that policy.
Why?
We are not pursuing with that policy.
Why?
Because normally, most of the expenditures that we make, especially those at the, let's say, relatively mid to higher end, like I say, we normally used to discuss it, before we implement payments. So, like in other councils where you have thresholds,
Right.
we have not been observing that.
Why is that case?
That should not be though, because it's not a very good practice.
It's not a very good practice.
No.
To have threshold.
It's always a good practice to have thresholds.
Okay, so why not having thresholds?
Well, in our case, we've never had it at the council.
Yes, but I mean, why are you not having thresholds?
Yeah, because I inherited it. So
From
previous administrations.
No, you have the financial manual,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It says the authority for expenditure, the authority to incur expenditure is vested in council through budget approval. The finance director shall not make any payment nor accept any charge in his accounts unless authorized by the chief executive and in accordance with the monetary thresholds approved by each council. As regard the monetary threshold, it should be noted that up to a given amount, the CEO can approve and incur expenditure without reference to the chairman or mayor of the council. Up to a certain amount, the CEO is required to consult and seek clearance from the chairman or mayor. Beyond a given amount, the CEO is required to refer such expenditure to council to seek approval. You have not been observing this, you said. Right?
I beg your pardon?
You have not been observing this, you
No,
said.
no.
So now who has the ultimate decision to authority to decide how much is expended? For instance, if the council is to pay $500,000 to a contractor, do you have the ultimate decision as CEO?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a true statement? Answer?
Yes.
The evidence we have gathered is that the mayor knows about every expenditure that is to be made, especially the big ones. That there has to be approval. Whether it's done informally through your informal meetings or it's in writing, I doubt. But is that the case? Do you consult the mayors?
I had told you initially yes.
So why did you say you have the ultimate decision?
Yeah, because I do the approval.
If the mayor says no, you can't.
No, it doesn't always follow that way.
It doesn't always follow.
No.
But the mayor does not agree that you have to pay. You should pay a certain amount. Do you pay?
There are no instances where if we have to make a very legitimate payment that she stands up and tells me not to pay it. No.
And so you don't pay?
No.
So she has the final say?
No.
She has the final say?
But what I say is, contrary to what you earlier on said,
Right.
in some instances, for example, if I have to pay, let's say, with regards to certain areas that are not clear or that I don't think should be paid, I can say no.
You can say no.
Yeah.
Do you consult the mayors for payments?
But like I told you earlier on, most of the payments, especially big payments we make at council before, we are consulting each other.
Each other, as in
Yes.
you and the mayors?
I consult the directors are in the know.
Forget the directors.
She's in the know and I'm in the know.
Now let's forget the directors. They are below you.
Yes.
You will get to the most important person will probably be the director of finance. That will be in a position to advise you. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Now, I am concerned, it's in the theory, I am concerned about your relationship as CEO with the mayors. Do you seek clearance?
Do I seek clearance?
For certain payments from the mayors before you authorize payment?
That's why I say clearance in no.
As in, Mr. Batchilly, in your time as CEO, do you seek clearance in any form or in circumstances, depend on the amounts involved from the political branch that is the mayors before you effect payment?
Okay, let me give you an example. I don't know if you could.
Have you ever sought clearance for payments from the mayors before you effect them?
Like I told you, I think I made it clear.
Do you have a yes or a no, and you explain?
Okay, I have a yes.
Good. Thank
But
you.
then, you want me to explain now?
Of course.
Okay. Like I told you before, most of these payments, especially big payments, we all we all discuss amongst ourselves
Right.
the need for those payments to be effected.
Yes.
So I think
And then who
I'm
has
clear.
the ultimate authority? When you were discussing among yourself, who is the boss? Whose okay is important? When you discuss with your finance director, you have the ultimate decision making, correct?
yes.
When you discuss with your mayors, who has the ultimate decision? Your yes was quick for your subordinate. Now you are the subordinate.
No, because I'm not.
Answer the
If
question.
if I say she has the final say, if I say that, I will also be contradicting myself in the sense that, for example, when it was said if something was requested for, and I'm the chief accounting officer, if I say no, nothing could happen.
Nothing could happen. Do you,
Nothing
when you
could
meet
happen.
the mayors
Yes.
about an amount that is to be paid,
Yes,
who has the final say?
because I'm the one who approve it.
Who decides? Whether
We decide.
you decide.
We
If
decide.
mayors does not agree, can you still go ahead and pay?
If she doesn't agree on something that I know is legit to pay, I can go to pay, of
Have you
course.
done that before?
Pardon?
Have you done that before?
Yes, I've done that before.
Oh, we will need examples, Mr. Levin, when we are back.
Definitely.
I don't think for 1 minute you have ever said no, but we need an example when we are back.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
We rise.